So it turns out Verge Ausberry isn't LSU's full-time athletic director after all. What in the world is happening? It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts. Of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. We're also every day on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. So thank you to our viewers there. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the FanDuel app today. LSU yet again finds itself at the center of national news for all the wrong reasons. And it continues to be a void of strong leadership in and around the university and the athletic department that is causing this. 24 hours ago, I recorded an episode of this show lauding LSU and new president Dr. Wade Rousse for the decision to remove the interim tag from Verge Ausberry's title and make him LSU's full-time athletic director. Shout out to our everydayers who caught that episode. If you missed it, you're more than welcome to go back and catch my full thoughts on it. But generally speaking, the Cliffs Notes version is it's really hard to hire a football coach without leadership in place. A football coach isn't going to take your job without knowing who that person is working for, who's their boss. It's true in every profession. Well, athletic director hires the football coach. You didn't have a full-time athletic director. You didn't have a full-time athletic director because you didn't have a full-time president of the university, an interim. Well, on Tuesday, Dr. Wade Rousse was confirmed as the new president of LSU. That evening, within 5 hours of being confirmed, he removed the interim tag from Verge Ausberry's title, making him LSU's full-time athletic director. And then on Wednesday morning, everything changed. Dr. Rousse was at an event at UNO in New Orleans, and he gave an interview to Piper Hutchinson of the Louisiana Illuminator. Now, there's no video of this interview. There's no audio. It was that's available anyway. It was a print interview. And the reporter, Piper Hutchinson, shared some of the quotes from her interview with Dr. Rousse as it pertained to the decision to remove the interim tag from Verge Ausberry's title, which, by the way, he confirmed. Dr. Rousse confirmed that he did remove the interim tag from Verge Ausberry's title. I'll read this quote from, again, I'm quoting Wade Rousse, the LSU president, who will officially take over on the 17th of this month. Quote, "I'll remove the interim title and then we'll assess the situation. I can't make a very good decision after being on the job for 8 hours." He went on to say, "I don't know what permanent means versus removing the interim." I fear, I'm going to be very honest. I am, not that I would ever lie to you, but I am using a tremendous amount of restraint not to blow a gasket, not to rant and rave and yell and scream, as I've been known to do. My face turns red and I sweat a lot. And the reason that I'm showing restraint and not going full bore nuclear right now is because I don't know Dr. Rousse. I've never met him. I've never had a conversation with him. Until he became the very obvious choice of the governor. It was chosen by the governor to be the next president. So this was always going to happen. I mean, this was I think the way I said it was, this was as sure as the sun rising, a sure thing as the sun rising. Wade Rousse becoming LSU's president. But I've never, and before it became obvious he was going to be the guy, I wouldn't have even known his name. I knew the president of McNeese State University was. And that might be part of the problem, which I'll get to here in a second. But not knowing the man or his intention, it's hard for me to say definitively what his intention with this comment was. I will give you my opinion of what happened and what is setting LSU back. I think that Dr. Rousse was confirmed on Tuesday. It is completely naive to think that Wade Rousse had not had any interactions with Verge Ausberry or LSU's leadership and athletic leadership prior to his confirmation. As a matter of fact, I know they had spoken. So the fact that he was confirmed on Tuesday and a few hours later removed the interim tag is not that surprising. He's well within his rights to do it. Understands that if you want to hire a football coach, you've got to have leadership in place. As a matter of fact, in that interview with Piper Hutchinson, Wade Rousse said, quote, it was important for me to show stability. Verge has done a good job up until this point. I really need to dig deeper in terms of what we look like to make sure we protect the global brand. Little dose of irony there, because the comments about protecting the global brand are actually hurting the global brand. He also, Wade Rousse, talked about how difficult it is to hire a coach when there's instability. Quote, when you're trying to hire a coach, instability is not healthy. I completely agree, which is why it was important to remove the interim tag and make Verge the full-time athletic director. Because no matter what Verge said on my radio show and what anyone associated with LSU will have you believe, word gets around in circles. Listen, I may not be a politics guy. I am a sports guy. And I'm plenty connected in the sports world to know, in the agent world and the coaching world to know, there are people with real questions and reservations about the LSU job because of all this. And LSU, Verge Ausberry, they can all paint whatever picture they want. But the bottom line is, you're not getting real interest from the candidates you want to talk to because of all of this uncertainty. So in that respect, Dr. Rousse is correct. It is hard to go hire a football coach when there's instability, which is why if you were convicted about Verge being the full-time athletic director, you remove the interim tag, you make him the athletic director. Then all of a sudden, you've got your university president, you've got your athletic director, and now you can go hire a football coach with no reservations. But something happened. I don't know what, but something happened from Tuesday evening when the call went out, the word went out to everybody, me included, that they had removed the interim tag from Verge Ausberry's title. And ultimately on Wednesday, when Wade Rousse is backtracking saying, no, he's not the full-time job. I just removed the interim tag. You see, what I fear is, this is what I fear, and this is why I'm not going to blow a gasket, because I don't know Wade Rousse, and it would be unfair for me, not knowing him, to go all in here. I'm not saying that won't happen at some point. But what I fear is he's doing the same thing Jeff Landry did a week ago. When Jeff Landry at that press conference started talking about the taxpayers footing the bill for Brian Kelly's buyout, and he doubled down on the McAfee show, on my radio show, over and over again. And then it took John Carmouche, who's an attorney and a member of the board, who was at the press conference on Friday, to say this.
But let me make it clear. The state has never, and the taxpayers have never paid for a coach and never will. So,
I mean, you don't need to hear me say it. I'm just a bald-headed, angry, yelling radio hack in Louisiana. That guy's on the board of supervisors who's saying the taxpayers have never paid for a coach and never will. Completely debunking Jeff Landry's argument, which we all knew was bogus. Like, if you're being honest with yourself, you knew where that was rooted. He didn't actually think the taxpayers would ever foot the bill. It was a semantic argument. Like, by the letter of the law, if it ever got to, I don't need to unearth the whole thing. You get it. But I fear the same thing is happening here with Wade Rousse. And what he's saying there, that's my fear, is he's saying, well, what does permanent mean? Well, he says, I don't know the difference between permanent and removing the interim. If you are being honest with yourself, I mean, you and me and Wade Rousse and everyone, if someone holds an interim title, interim anything, interim head coach, interim athletic director, interim vice president of an organization, name it, whatever. If you're an interim, you know that that is a temporary position. You are a placeholder. When you remove the interim tag, you are no longer a temporary placeholder. You have that job. You know it. I know it. We all know it. So either Dr. Rousse doesn't know that, which is supremely concerning, or he's being disingenuous and is getting into a semantics argument because he's trying to walk back something that he did just the day before. And either way, what he has done here is again created instability, because now I'm getting calls again nationally from people going, what in the world? Didn't they just like every rational person who heard that they removed the interim tag assumed and thought that Verge Ausberry was the full-time athletic director, because that's what that means when you remove the interim tag. And 12 hours later, he's walking that back. And now you've created more instability, because what you've said is, okay, Verge, you're not the interim. You can go hire the coach, but you may not be the full-time guy. So regardless of what you call it, you're in the exact same position as you were 24 hours prior, where you have someone conducting a search that may not actually hold that job, and be whoever he hires may not be that person's boss. I'm going to tell you, man, I don't want to play this card because I don't know that it's fair, but I'm going to be forthright with you. And part of me fears here that you've elected a university president here in Wade Rousse, who's coming from a small school in McNeese, who is just not used to people paying attention to what he does. And the reality is 99.9% of the people in the state of Louisiana don't care about the LSU president. They didn't go to LSU. I did. It's my alma mater. I love the school. I want it to be great. But everybody in the state cares about LSU football and the athletics director and who's going to run the athletic department. And Wade Rousse is getting a pretty rude awakening into what it's like to have your moves and your words dissected and scrutinized. You got to tread carefully. You have to be tactful. How did you not learn this lesson a week ago from what the governor went through and put the entire state and the athletic department, the university through? And it felt like we were through this, man. The he got his way. Scott Woodward was out. Verge Ausberry's in. You got Wade Rousse confirmed, who was the governor's handpicked choice. And it looked like you had all this alignment when he dropped the interim tag, and then you're right back where you were. It's disappointing. It's not to say it can't work out in hiring the coach, but they keep making it more complex. Both Kim Mulkey and Frank Wilson reacted to Scott Woodward and the Verge Ausberry. You'll hear that next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. The Part Finder tool, by the way, and 3D schematics that can save you hours on the job where every detail matters. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SupplyHouse.com. Real people, real service. You know, last Thursday, when Scott Woodward and LSU mutually agreed to part ways, LSU women's basketball had an exhibition, and Kim Mulkey did not go to the post-game media availability. Assistant coach Bob Starkey handled those responsibilities a week ago. And the reason was pretty obvious. Kim Mulkey is as outspoken a coach and a personality as you will find. And she was not happy last week about what happened with Scott Woodward being forced out. Well, LSU women's basketball played a game on Tuesday night. And remember, on Tuesday, Wade Rousse was confirmed as the new president. And a short time after that, Verge Ausberry had the interim tag removed. Verge Ausberry, by the way, was at the women's basketball game. And so Kim Mulkey, in her post-game press conference, the first question out the chute, was asking her about Scott Woodward and Verge Ausberry and this transition.
Scott hired me. So anytime a coach is hired by somebody, you have special feelings. My feelings are far deeper because I'm from the state. And I want all of us to always do good. I want us to look good. I want us to smell good. I want us everything good about this state. So I'm happy. I heard Verge is now the AD. I'm happy because I think Verge is like a lot of us. He grew up in this state. This is his school. And time will help all of us.
By the way, President Rousse, Dr. Rousse, if you think it's just media members and fans that assumed that Verge Ausberry was the full-time athletic director, you may want to talk to one of the greatest coaches in the history of any sport, Kim Mulkey, because she assumed that Verge Ausberry had the job as well, full-time. So if you're just sitting there thinking that it's just me or media people rush to a conclusion, Kim Mulkey thought the exact same thing. I'm going to come back to something else Kim said. By the way, on Wednesday morning, Frank Wilson, the interim head football coach, was on the SEC coaches teleconference, and he was asked about Verge Ausberry as well.
A lot of admiration, a lot of respect for Verge Ausberry. I think he is detailed. I think he's professional. I think he has a view holistically of what it takes to run an athletic program. And he's done due diligence. He's put in the work. I think it's a position that he has earned over the years. I'm ecstatic for him. I think he'll do an outstanding job in leading the LSU athletic program in the right direction.
So the interim football coach, who clearly understands what the word interim means, also thought that Verge Ausberry had gotten the job on a full-time basis. But clearly Kim Mulkey and Frank Wilson, two pretty influential, important, impactful people around LSU athletics, they misunderstood also what you said. Do you understand the point here? The importance of communications, of being tactful, of knowing what you're going to do, what you're going to say, and what the impact of those words and actions are going to be, because you don't get to put the toothpaste back in the tube. And again, maybe when you're the president at McNeese, people aren't paying attention. It's different at LSU, and especially when you start dabbling in LSU athletics. And this is an awful lesson, an awful way to learn this lesson, clearly, before he's even permanently or formally started the job, which isn't for another 12 days or so on the 17th when he actually becomes the acting president. But the other thing, if you heard what Kim Mulkey said there, where she said time will heal, she's telling you that she's ticked about how this went down. And it goes to underscore again why this matters so much, why it matters to have your athletic director in place to hire a coach. Because coaches work for the athletic director. The director has the authority to hire and fire coaches. I'm not saying it's like a fear thing, but everybody wants to know who they're working for, what the expectations are, if they're going to have support for their program. Will they have budget, especially now in the rev share era? How is the rev share going to be distributed? What about support staff personnel? All of those things, that all has to go across the athletic director's desk in some form or fashion. So you want to know if you're going to have support and who you're working for. Kim Mulkey was hired by Scott Woodward and loves Scott Woodward. She's ticked about how this went down, but she was happy about Verge. And now they've walked back Verge. And Frank was happy for Verge. And now they've walked back Verge. And now everybody, every coach, every agent who might have been touting their client toward LSU, who was taking a wait and see approach, goes, oh, okay, well, you got the president in place. And now we know Verge is the AD and Verge is really respected. Okay, now we can start to engage and talk about how this looks. And in less than 24 hours later, it's a total pullback. Well, wait. So it's basically, you've removed the interim tag, but that's no different. Verge will make the hire, but he may not get the job. I hope, even if you don't listen to me, I hope Kim Mulkey and Frank Wilson, their words carry more weight than mine do. And by the way, for whatever it's worth, Wade Rousse went on WWL radio on Wednesday night in an interview and doubled down, talking about Verge. Quote, he has the full authority to go find us a coach, and also said that he is the acting AD. He's removed the interim tag, but called him the acting AD. So you can remove the tag. You can remove that word off the business card. But again, that's semantics, something Jeff Landry and apparently Wade Rousse are pretty good at, or maybe pretty bad at it, depending on how you want to define it. An email from Brian Kelly to LSU brass has surfaced about the buyout. We'll wrap up with that next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Brian Kelly sent an email to on the day he was fired, on that Sunday, the day he was fired. Brian Kelly sent an email to Scott Woodward, Verge Ausberry, Julie Cromer, and Austin Thomas. Those four people. And I'll read the email from Brian Kelly. It's not very long, but it says, Scott and team, sending a quick note to confirm that following my termination during our meeting today, I will return all materials in my possession as required by my contract. Let me know if it's better for me to clean out my office or if you'd prefer to pack everything up and send it to me. I assume HR will be in touch regarding any other housekeeping matters out there. But let me know if there's anything else you need from me in the meantime. As we discussed in our meeting, I'm open to your desire to reach a settlement of what's owed to me under the contract, although, of course, it would have to make sense financially. Despite your decision to let me go today, I am grateful to have had the opportunity to lead this program over the last 4 years, and I wish you the best going forward. Best, Brian. So 2 things. Number 1, there was a report from Bruce Feldman that it was a contentious, heated argument between Brian Kelly, Scott Woodward, maybe the others in that room, about forcing him to fire assistants, something he wouldn't do, and that's ultimately what led to the termination. You read that letter. Does that sound contentious? See, the story that I shared with you is very different because having had conversations with people in that room, it was abundantly clear to me that the conversation lasted about 5 minutes. It was very cordial, very civil. Brian Kelly was told that he didn't have any support. They were making the decision to terminate him. He accepted that decision and moved on. That very much is conveyed there in that letter, isn't it? The other part is where Brian Kelly mentions your desire, meaning the people in that room, to negotiate a settlement of what, as he put it, what's owed me under the contract. And he said, I'm open to your desire to reach a settlement of what's owed to me under the contract, although, of course, it would have to make sense financially. It was at that point on that Sunday, short time after, that Brian Kelly's agent, Trace Armstrong, got involved to start negotiating that. Now, keep in mind, as what I was told, is that Kelly was offered 2 lump sum payments, which he rejected as much lesser than the full amount that he would have been owed. But he is open to negotiating a settlement of the buyout. Think of it in these terms. It's like you hear people win the lottery. You can take the lump sum or the annuity. Well, do you want to be paid every year for the rest of your life, or do you want the lump sum right now? Most people take the lump sum. That's sort of the benefit there. Brian Kelly, in theory, could take a lump sum now or get paid every month over the next 6 years remaining on his contract. It's really up to him what he might elect to do, but there's some reason to believe that, especially if he wants to coach again, either working or in media, remember, his buyout would be mitigated by that number. So regardless if it was coaching or media or whatever, his buyout number, if he continued to get it paid out over the next 6 years, would be lessened. So it might stand to reason, well, just take the lump sum now and go on with your life. But they got to agree to a number, whatever that may be. As of now, the two sides have not agreed to that number. But as Brian Kelly clearly said there, he would be open to it if they could find the right number. The best case for LSU would be if Brian Kelly coaches again. It might move that along faster. That's what happened with Les Miles when he got back into coaching at Kansas. But time will tell. The thing to take away certainly is that it was a cordial split there in the final day of Brian Kelly's tenure as LSU's head coach. All right, I got to bounce out of here. Please subscribe on podcasts, on YouTube as well, and let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.